as Milan kindly asked. And we can start by introducing ourselves.
Yeah, should I go?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hi, my name is Alessandro. If you don't know me, I'm a writer and researcher based in Berlin. Right now, I'm in Italy. It's very warm, and I work for Labs and for my own project Reincantamento. Work on the intersection of technology and radical imagination and alternative economic models. And yeah, today we are here to give you a report and like brief overview on what happened in at this conference in Berlin. It was found in the Commons. That is an interesting alternative technology space connected with Web3, Digital Commons Hub, and so on. And yeah, and just like it can serve as an overview of different projects happening in the space and different initiatives that are trying to use mostly blockchain technologies with what we may call like critical curiosity and interesting in creating, and I'm quoting Josh, our friend Joshua Davila, units of use and capacity that are like these little blocks where this technology can actually help us in fostering solidarity and cooperativism. Yeah.
Hi. My name is Rade, and I'm a designer and an visual artist. I have been researching cooperatives only for a year now, but it feels longer somehow. I am affiliated with Institute of Contemporary Art here in Montenegro. Been collaborating with them for 3 or 4 years, especially on archive of Cetinje biennials. Besides that, I am contributor at Red Cooperative since the beginning of this year, and that was also the way I was invited to join Funding the Commons at Redcube, and I wanted to start this just from some like position, like how do I envision this like talk more as some sort of collective mapping of initiatives of possible collaborations or like topics that were raised during Funding the Commons conference, and really for us together all to map all these possible nodes that could be beneficial for our future cooperative. Maybe we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is just a brief structure, which sort of also resembles the programming that happened at the conference, but also like our positioning and our perspective to it. So we just wanted sort of also to start from maybe it will be redundant, but we wanted also to start with just little definition of commons, enclosures, and possible resistance to sort of like also let you know our entanglements, embodiments in relation to those topics. And for me personally, it is something that preceded. Oh, Jordan. Hi, Jordan. And for me, like interesting commons is something that preceded the cooperatives and sort of just I pointed out several books that I would like also for us to discuss and propose for our reading groups. So one cornerstone being like Silvia Federici's Caliban and the Witch, which revealed how the commons were systematically destroyed as this condition for creation of capitalism. But what all this what we also wanted is in this presentation to debunk this tragedy of the commons, which is the most common argument against the commons. Maybe Alessandro, sorry, if you can return for that sheep slide, which is just this run-of-the-mill scale problem argument that as like people are selfish, are going to pursue their self-interest without considering the long-term consequences, and that any type of common gets easily distracted due to over-exploitation by individuals acting in the short-term interest without regulation or collective management. And what I believe is that we have a tradition of fighting these narratives, and that cooperatives especially prove to be like a useful counterweight that proves different. I don't know, Alessandro, if you also wanted to jump in.
Yeah, no, I think you said it, definitely. It's just, this is the classical conception of the rational individual acting, maximizing its own self-interest. And so there is no, yes, alternative to this framing, while, I mean, yeah, it has been proved that also in different kind of studies, maybe without going too long on this, but that even the conception of pre-capitalistic societies, it has an ideological narrative wrap up around it. And so this idea that collaboration without any kind of like hierarchy or management must fail is an ideological tale somehow. And I think it's I mean, there are many, for example, to stay in the realm of software, you know, open source software, free software spaces, they prove that one can have collective management of a knowledge resource that is the code. And so also in more recent times, I think that this simulation has simply been proved wrong, or at least very, very partially and ideologically charged. So I think that this is like the starting point to change your perspective and then continue with what we're going to present.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have to say more, Rade.
Yeah, I agree. I also feel like this argument of tragedy of the commons kind of oversights that commons are not just resources but also social relations, and that through active like practices of sharing, collective governing, and caring, they have been existing and fruitful for various communities through history, and that there is a plethora of documentation on that. So I don't know, you kind of also opened this discussion on digital commons, so maybe like we can collectively just go quickly through the typology of like there being like natural commons such as forest, water, air, biodiversity, which is like the most immediate commons that we feel, and also something that especially we have maybe the most immediate reaction to defend. Beside that, we have cultural commons, language, knowledge, traditions, art, and then also digital commons you mentioned, which will be like open source software, Wikipedia, shared databases, and the urban commons, which of course we know as public spaces, shared infrastructure, community gardens. And yeah, this is just a brief small scale map of enclosure movements. How, and it shows in the map how fencing, how this British farming area enclose these common pastures. And I do not have this data. I cannot recall it at this moment, but I believe that prior to this chapter that was firstly enclosure chapter that was firstly implemented in the Great Britain, I believe in 1030. in the 14th century or 15th, I'm not sure, but I believe that 90% before that of the land was commons. And there is like one sonnet, one from an unknown poet that is on the next slide, which really kind of shifts this paradigm of who is the thief in this whole relation of enclosure and commons. It's also an opening of this book by Peter Lin about Stop Thief, where he shifts this narrative that the thief is not the peasant that steals the goods from the common, but this greater villain that steals the common from the goose, and who can actually, through this legislation, enclose these commons.
Yeah, and if I can just add something on the steel, I think that also it's for me it's always been interesting, and also you mentioned Silvia Federici before. Also the modeling, like the modeling of the individual person, individual system that needs to be installed to allow for the privatization of spaces and like the decommodification to happen. So like you need to think of I mean, you are stripping people away of agency and authority and like like actual care and collective management of resources. That was something that was shared. For instance, if you think even the witches, you know, in Silvia Federici, as it were like women with medical knowledge and herbalistical knowledge and so on and so forth. And in the moment where the process of like, I mean, the primitive accumulation happens, also the knowledge gets stolen basically, and it gets like in the hands of a few authorities or like respected voices in a community, in a collectivity, whereas before it also been more shared. So I think that also the commons needs the installation of this like individual authoritative figure that is gonna take care, is gonna manage the resource that has been privatized, while before it was more distributed system of like care and management and so on. Just... Should I go?
Yes.
Also forward?
Yes. Oh, this is just like an illustration that was included in the promotion of the late David Graeber's The Dawn of Everything, and it's just like there for this act of radical imagination to like envision what these commons might have served, but not only for mammoth hunting, but also like they were used for as a common for various celebrations, for weddings, for any types of gathering, but also, as you mentioned, like for actually people to be able to set up their huts, to set up their homes on a common, which was case for a lot of these witches, which were like this free subject outside of this other sovereignty of under the rule of the sovereign, which could exercise this radical freedom and be this care worker actually within their community, and could use these commons to set up such activity. So next one, it's a bit now we're kind of leaping forward, but I don't know how much should I talk about bread cooperative, as I feel like I'm sorry, the wind. Every 3 months, we sort of have some bread cooperative within our shared visions. But to anyone who is new, bread cooperative, formerly bread chain cooperative, is a collective of decentralized cooperative projects, the building solidarity primitives, and it's funded by its own digital community currency, bread, which is sort of a stable coin. And the bread all emerged from the recognition that technology without like without direct social intervention only favors those in power. So that we should not let this technological infrastructure, and that we should also build a progressive niche within this crypto space. how Rade chain functions is that it's a collective federation of decentralized cooperative projects. And that has in common that they're looking to advance this progressive vision for blockchain and its effect on society. So what is called solidarity primitive in this context is developmental tools which forge solidarity between individuals and collectives. So on the next slide, there is just a slight overview of different projects that are financed through Rade Cooperative, and also here is a snippet of the Crypto Leftist Discord, which is managed by Rade Cooperative, and the QR code will join. I hope that QR code works. I haven't checked. And this is just an illustration of the internal architecture of crowd-staking within Rade Cooperative that we had a chance to illustrate recently. I'm not sure that we have enough time to go into this, but if there is a special interest, we can later on more detail.
Yeah. Yes. So among the different projects we will present, I mean, blockchain has been born like a financial technology to sustain these alternative and parallel economic circuits. However, as you probably feel like your feelings towards crypto are not good, and this is fine, because I mean it has been captured by venture capitalists, let's say tech elites, broadly speaking, Wall Street, and recently also very like right-wing US fascists, basically. And so these tweets is just a funny nod to the idea that again, blockchains were supposed to be the solution to the flaws of traditional financial system, as the Bitcoin white paper published 15 years ago was published in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis against the bailout of the banks. And yet the most popular crypto application at the moment is what Rade called the stable coin, that are basically digital tokens or digital currency that are pegged on the dollar. So basically the dollar on the blockchain. And so where is the desire for creating a truly alternative economy if what we are doing is just like having these sophisticated high-tech financial products and then the dollar on the blockchain? Fortunately, that's not the entireness of the story. I'm gonna again speaking about circles. If you were at the Radionica #1, we had Julio Linares. That was one of the main architects of Circles UBI, and this is another project, is the new iteration of Circles. It's called Circles 2.0, let's say, and with this interesting title, Unaligned Form of Money. And during the Funding the Commons event in Berlin, we had the presentation of Martin Köppelmann, that is the founder of Circles and let's say the main brain behind the project. This, I mean, I'm gonna be short because we don't have a lot of time. You can also, as for the recording of Radionica #1, and Circles, this starts with let's say basic, how can I say, social realization. The money is a human-made social contract, and it can be designed. This is always an important, and we're gonna see it also later, let's say realization in crypto, is that economies are spaces that can be designed and rearranged because it's something that we made. They are social construct. Money, as you know, is bound to nation state and central banks, and so it's not unaligned, but is oftentimes aligned with the power dynamics of the state, and I mean the greater geopolitical game and so on and so forth. I don't have to tell you. What Circles allows is for, very shortly, is for individuals to issue their own token. So you are an individual, you are creating on your wallet this token, I think, what is it, 1 unit per hour at the moment. And the idea is that you are incentivized to use this token to create a circular economy, because this token is subjected to demurrage, that is basically a loss of value of 7%. And there is some kind of calculation that will not go in detail here that doesn't allow for accumulation. So that circles, this is the re-edition of the project due to internal changes and so on and so forth. What is different now? But well, two things, to be honest. The first thing is that you are allowed to have group currency, meaning that if shared vision come together, we as individual accounts and circles can create this unit of value that can be used for our own internal purposes. The second news is that there's a fee, and it's right to report that, meaning that when you are creating circles this time, also the circles company is getting a percentage because they have to sustain their operation. But it's a very interesting project, and it allows for the creation of local currency in a seamless way. So this was one of the main, I will say, alternative, let's say, models and projects that are striving for creating an alternative economic circuit that are still there in crypto. Rade.
Yeah. So we're sort of going chronologically of how these different panels went at Breadcube. So one of the first panels, I believe, actually first one was on the network states or neocolonialism. And just to tie around to what Alessandro said is that yeah, it's sort of not enough anymore to just build new blockchain systems or deploy smart contracts, but we should be really careful that what begins as like experiments in decentralized coordination could be captured by later on speculative finance or venture capital. So there is a need for discussion, the critical discussion of alternatives, and how to actively resist capitalism's colonization of these emerging digital spaces. And like one of maybe prime examples of this neo-colonial attempt is the network states, which are sort of like this crypto oasis, like of rich that are setting up their own states under this pre-assumption that it's a radical attempt against the nation states, but what we see that it is more and more, it's just this thing that multinational corporations have been doing for decades, and that it's only serving this small super privileged digital nomads as a way, some sort of gated community. So on the next slide, there are some examples of the most like prominent network states that have been set up, which honestly do not know that much about, to be honest. But one example that I'm particularly passionate talking about are these Zuzalu villages, with the first Zuzalu being in Montenegro, in my home country. So in this private resort, which I or most of my peers, locals, do not have a chance of visiting. So I believe that was back in 2022, right after. So maybe next slide. Oh yeah, this makes me laugh, honestly.
It's giving me a headache.
We can see like this new cities industry landscape and how they
Yeah, also, can I say to notice that they do it in Nigeria? They take advantage of like also spaces, the states that want foreign investment and tech investment, and so they also the case of Prospera in Honduras was very. I mean, it's a very dirty story, to be honest, and so it just like, I think that it's also important to know that we discuss this because it is a force, an ideological like group of interest within crypto, basically. And not only within crypto, because also this initiative and Balaji that was working at Coinbase, and Coinbase is this big crypto exchange that is now fully aligned with Trump. It also sponsored the Trump birthday parade, and Trump, like, and the administration, the administration and the block of power behind him subscribed this program called them the New American Frontier. So it is a entanglement of capitalistic power using also crypto and blockchain that is, it's in my opinion, is quite dangerous, and it's important to monitor it. So that's why also we discussed it in crypto. Montelibro, lol. Should we go?
Yeah. But what it really like shows, it's for me, it's this like what Jameson writes, like this cultural logic of late capitalism, this like capitalism's genius that is in its ability to colonize ever new areas of human life and activity for profit, and that when it when capitalism faces crisis, it doesn't collapse, it sort of metamorphosizes and expands into previously commodified territories.
Yeah, it needs to create new enclosures, basically,
yeah, create new enclosures, yeah. And how it extracts value from our own social interactions. Oh, so these are just some lovely articles. Oh, this is a village. And also, there's quite a lot of like appropriation of this utopian, of course, architecture. For example, like these geospheres by Buckminster Fuller, which were a very utopian modernist endeavor that had its own place in the 60s and the last centuries, but now it's this modernist heritage feels so appropriated that it's no longer point of reference to some extent. I don't know how you feel about
it. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of also aesthetic appropriation, I would say, that it shows you the ambiguity, I would say, of certain utopic vision, in my opinion. But when I talk about funnier things, the bioregional.
Yes. So this was sessions that I particularly enjoyed during finding the commons. It also happened at the Bread Cube, but I know that more bioregional also discussions happened in other spaces, but I don't know, Alessandro, if you had a chance, maybe. I'm gonna talk about this few that I managed to listen. And it was particularly interesting to me as I had almost no prior knowledge about it. So how I understood bioregionalism is that it's a framework that organizes like human communities around natural ecological boundaries rather than arbitrary political borders. And bioregion could be like defined by rivers, watersheds, like mountain ranges, climate patterns, and ecosystems, rather than lines drawn by like nation states or empires, but also it has like and maybe someone could like help me define it. It has like also this human element to it, which makes it distinct from like ecologic, like ecoregion. So it also like it also takes into consideration cultural characteristics, is what I like to say. And here we have several like maps which sort of like suggest different bioregions in different continents. And what I particularly like about this discourse is how actually it sort of thinks in terms of like grassroots capacity of like indigenous people, indigenous in the sense that they live there for centuries to be able to make the decision on the around the rivers, on the other like this natural commons, which sort of feel like the last commons that we have, be it air or rivers or mountains, to organize on not a country level or not through like some foreign benefactors or how they would envision that these resources could be used. I feel like this discourse does not like, for me, it's super interesting also how it could communicate with the lithium mining neo-colonial attempts by the EU in Serbia, which, for example, are impacting not only Serbia but the whole like ecosystem also in Bosnia and Drina River. And this like bioregionalism could be like a framework, but not only a framework, but also like a way of organizing and looking for funding from sources which might actually understand uh, the grassroots struggle and not be like this benefactor of greenwashing.
Yeah, if I can make one notation, I don't know anything about this, but I like this European map, and I think it's interesting to see also compared to what we showed before of the network states, how different forms of like sovereignty and collective action in one way better than the other, but they are emerging outside of national borders and nation states framework, because both this is like the bioregionals are not the state. They don't follow the state lines, and at the same time, the network states are also this escapism, way more like I would say based on illusion, but still like attempts to, I think, create and spawns new sort of collective bodies that are not contained anymore within the traditional nation state or even transnational state as the EU, for example, no? Or the US, or yeah. All right, that was my annotation.
So the first initiative that I had the chance to present was this BioFi project, and these are some memes that I downloaded from their website, which I really encourage everyone to look at, as it also has, it's very complex and beautifully done. It has a little glossary, like, and also like some case studies, tools and guides, but also funding resources and a free ebook called Bioregional Financing Facilities. So,
Should I go forward or?
yeah.
Okay, this one, BioFi.
And also during that session, there was a lightning talk by an urbanist, and I'm not sure. He's an urbanist and like some sort of policy maker, very involved in several cooperatives. One of them being this European Housing Cooperative, and this other one being Volgut in Neukölln. Maybe you know more of it, Alessandro, that is supposed to be built. It's
I think, yeah, it's I'm not super sure. I didn't see this presentation, but I know this project has been the idea of creating a cooperative within the urban space and buying this former something like industrial building that already hosts some facilities, like I know recording studios are there, for instance, and basically managing this urban infrastructure with a focus on, I don't know, social and cultural spaces, and manage it through a cooperative body. So I think this is what they want to do. I know they were in contact also with the Berlin government, but yeah, it's an initiative to keep an eye on. But I know it's moving also following the German bureaucratic geological eras, so it's gonna take a while, I think.
He also had like some presentation of like redistributing wealth within neighborhoods. But as it was lightning talk, it was a bit hard to keep track of so many references in such a short time span. So maybe you can
Yeah.
go forward.
Yeah, and moving on, this also was a panel, a section was about labor and adaptive solidarity, and basically different. It was interesting, I think, because it's both the intersection of tools and organizing that is emerging on the, let's say, frontier of the more, I would say, tech space, not necessarily crypto in this sense. And we had, there was a panel on this person from Smart Cop that we already discussed, Smart Cop. And for those who don't know, Smart Cop is a European networks of cooperative present, I know, in Belgium, Germany, Italy, France, I think, not in the Netherlands, Seb told me. And smart cooperatives basically it's a cooperative for freelancers, oftentimes like cultural workers, and it allows you to continue to work and operate as a freelancer, but while getting basically the benefits of employment, if you want to call them benefits, by becoming an employee of the smart cooperative. And this means, for instance, in the German context that I know, that this can help you to get cheaper health insurance, unemployment, contribution, accident coverage, like a lot of like the employment rights. And smart cooperatives takes a 9% fees over these over your invoices to allow their operation to continue basically. And it's and then it also helps you with the tax declaration, so it offers an interface between you and the state, or the bureaucratic phase of the state, which can be very, very useful. And I mean, opinions are mixed, but I know that many people use it, and it's also interesting because it's this network of cooperatives. So we also wanted to invite Magdalena to our event in Berlin next week, no, in 2 weeks, but she's busy, unfortunately. But I think that also in the context of labor and solidarity, it was interesting because there was another person on the panel that my friend, actually, Simone, and this does the Tech Workers Coalition, so organizing is an informal trade union in Germany, but also in the US, for example, of tech workers, people working in tech companies, not in crypto. And the way he framed it, I mean, I think this is very important. We all know that labor organization is very important. I think it's very, very crucial in the tech sector, because it's an important counterweight to these tech lords and their, arbitrary decisions. And at the same time, you see, for example, the movement No Tech for Apartheid against the, collaboration of Google and so on with Israel. And but also, I mean, to connect these 2 points, I think he made the case that the creation of or like the existence of a project like Smart Cop, it's also interesting because it creates, or it fosters a redistribution of power in a certain sense. Because if you are a developer and you want to drop out of one of these big companies, Smart Cooperative allows you to do that with like less engagement with bureaucracy. Like, it's basically helping you getting independent and autonomous more easily. And this doesn't have to be individual. It can be the free developers. They go out, they leave Meta, and they want to fund their own little company and operate on a more human level. And the existence of Smart Cop helps them, because also it allows you to also have group projects without funding a legal body. So I think it was interesting, this connection, where you see that some cooperative infrastructure are also supporting a redistribution of power. And I think in the way we develop technology, that's very important, because it allows for a more plural way of working on technology that doesn't fixate on the model of like big tech companies, like startups scaling up and then just driving for profit with no contact with, I don't know, customer community. So it could sustain, in my opinion, and what was discussed in the panel, a more fair and plural development of tech. So this was something. And then this other one. So this is Nick Ude, also wanted to invite, but he also can't, in Berlin. And this workshop was interesting, I think, also for our crowd here, because So blockchain has been a space where for the nature of the technology itself, is a technology that allows people to create small, like not small, but like economic systems, basically, and to create the rules for these economic systems. What is absent in, so there has been a lot of discussion, and also I think people operate with the idea that this is a design space, and so that the economy is not created by the law of God or the law of nature. However, they don't communicate, they don't know a lot of things, I guess, as we all do, but like, especially the tradition of political economy is not exactly the hottest topic in the blockchain space. So this workshop by Nick and also Josh actually was an attempt to bring together these, or bring political economy as an idea. What time is it? Okay. We have until 12:30, right? Let me know. It was an attempt to merge the composability of blockchain with the traditional political economy, meaning that political economy, political economy is a big discipline, but is a discipline that affirms that economy and politics, they go together, and economical choices, put very bluntly, they have a political impact, and the other way around. And so what was interesting in the workshop, I think, was this idea of trying to bring these composable components that are these 5 listed here as, okay, a very brutal simplification of an economic model. But if you create these little blocks and we use them to analyze, I don't know, the Chinese state capitalism system or the German one, you have these 5 components, and this can help and foster like design and co-creation processes of economical spaces, and also in relationship with blockchain. So in a certain way, I think it's in my interpretation at least, is a way to shift the inward looking nature of economic design in blockchain that is very influenced by game theory, by mechanism design, and by monetary policies. So not exactly the political economy school. And I think it's a way of creating or like giving some building blocks so that people can also have a broader perspective and realize how many governance and political economical choices are implied when creating a system. So I think adding more complexity and granularity in a way, but doing so without people having to read Marx for like 5 months, but like giving a more easy and accessible approach. Ah, yes. And this is another project that I think Bread Chain carried on, and not only Bread Chain, but just basically, crypto is also, it's a non-state money, right? And it is quite resistant to censorship, and it's still a decentralized infrastructure, no matter what they say. So it cannot be turned off by anyone, meaning that, for example, compared to another infrastructure for digital payment, this PayPal, crypto doesn't like shut down countries, especially in this case, it didn't shut down Gaza and the occupied territories of Palestine. And this is just, there was a report, a panel telling the story of this project. I don't remember the name of the...
It is by this builder and developer, Kat Young, I believe. She was previously affiliated with Gitcoin and has been developing it evacuations and running it from 2023.
Yeah, exactly. And so Kat, she created this project, it evacuation, and she sent more than $300,000 in Ethereum, in it, this is the token of the Ethereum network, to Gaza, helping evacuation to take place. And this is also, it's not the first time. There was also at the time of the invasion of Ukraine, Ukraine DAO was a project that collected a lot of funds. So, in a way, like sometimes you see people in blockchain are really trying to find a broader audience, like a product market fit, as they say. But sometimes, there are like, in case of extreme emergency, I would say, and like collapse of traditional infrastructure, or collapse made on like based on political reasons, of course. Crypto are like these trails that are there, and they can be used in these cases to in this case, to send solidarity, for instance. And this is something that is still going on, I think, Rade, no? And this is Casino is a space in Berlin, like a social space. And I think Brad Chenkop and Casino are like still coordinating the transfer of funds to families in Gaza, right?
There was a fundraising happening also during the Funding the Commons for Ibrahim's family. That is actually the by the casino, but maybe you can also tell us a bit more about casino. It's quite a recent space, as far as I understood, and it has like very interesting uh, name. It's a cafe for social medicine.
Yeah. Casino is now this space in Zona Lane, Berlin. It was a former casino indeed. And it is managed by this group of people that were the people doing the hologram protocol. So the hologram protocol is a social medicine protocol, a kind of peer-to-peer, if you want to adopt this tech language, peer-to-peer support group. I mean, there's the protocol that tells you how to do kind of collective therapy. I'm not gonna go into details now, but it's both very easy and very powerful, I believe, or helpful at the very least. And so is this space like giving a space for, beside culture in general, I think also a reconsideration of the role of medicine in our society, and a space for mutual support and mutual help in different ways, not only monetary, but also in terms of public health. So it's a very well appreciated, new entry in the Berlin landscape, I would say.
Uh, yeah, found admiring when Casey Thornton, which presented Casino, spoke about is that they offer medical aid, medical support to people who do not have medical insurance in Germany. That might there be people on the move, and that can, I believe, every Wednesday or Thursday, Wednesday and Friday go to casino, and it varies on a day, but there is a general MD available, and there's also like some acupuncture and massage and stuff. More, yeah, there's
Yes.
medicine practices as well.
Yeah, that's very important because it's a very big issue, the one of insurance. All right, I think we're heading towards the conclusion, and yeah, that's me. I also did a little talk, but besides what I did, I just wanted to share this. This is a quote from Cornelius Castoriadis, that is a French-Greek Marxist thinker with intense work on imagination. So I like that is I mean, it seems related to what we experienced at the Bread Cube and the Fun in the Commons. It's not only the idea of like liberate the social imaginary, but to liberate ourselves for the social imaginary, meaning that is to liberate our capacity for creation. I spelled wrong there. But yeah, and creation, I think these are all attempts in creating units of operation that are already prefiguring alternatives way of spending resources together, being together, taking care of each other, and so on and so forth. So yes. Thank you. If you have questions, we are here. And yeah, Rade, you want to say something more about this?
No, this is just there as sort of a vibe, which sort of does remind that we live in a time of like unprecedented use of technology as in a military industry complex or as in genocides.
Yes.
But that it's not a site that we should totally abandon, but that there is also aspects of indigenous and women's history and computation, and technology can also be reclaimed from the racist warmongering tech bros, how this meme says. And that, as Ursula Le Guin says, we live in time of capitalism. Power seems total and inescapable, and so did the divine right of the king. But we do not live under the divine right of king anymore, and any power can be resisted by other people, other power organizing. Although it's not gonna be an easy job in any way.
Yeah, totally. So if there are questions, we are happy to answer. Can I stop sharing so I see you back?
If anybody wants to ask any questions, it has to be over mic, otherwise they cannot hear you. You can say it on mic or in Zoom.
Hey, hello.
Hey, Dina.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's just like maybe a prompt for a discussion if you're up for it. I mean, we've heard a lot about the commons within the blockchain technologies and new technologies, but I was wondering maybe we could discuss more in terms of what kind of a decision-making process it might bring for this cooperative. Do we have some options to discuss now, some smart contracts, like how could it help and automate our governance within the cooperative? I know it's a very wide topic and question, but I think maybe we could discuss that a bit if you're okay with it. Thanks.
Rade, please.
I do not have an answer to that question, but what I feel in the discussions that were happening already um, within our project is that we already know what things we do not want and how do we want to prevent this capture. So I know that we totally do not want this like plutocracy mechanism of token, or who has the most token has the most voting right in the governance. So starting from like mapping out what we do not want and how do we prevent this like capture would maybe be the most immediate way to approach this question for me. In terms of how like smart contract could be used, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that we still have like this social and cultural base on top of which we could like build these smart contracts, as those things will come so much easier and could only be defined once we have this like cultural and like common understanding base, this like shared vision based.
I agree. Yeah, I think that, I mean, smart contracts can automate decisions making, but in order to write the smart contracts, I mean, they are in the end, you know about it already, right? It's an encoding of human behavior, right? So we need to decide what kind of collective human behavior we want to have in terms of economical relationship, for instance. So then potentially you can have different moments, or I don't know, when you reach a certain threshold, these funds get unlocked to buy art materials for everyone in Belgrade. Like, this automation is what smart contracts basically are, right? But when what the contracts part of it is the social agreement, I believe. So I think we need to discuss that first. But
yeah,
then I mean, if you are using wallets, many things are possible. Yeah.
Slobodno postaje ako imaš još. Ne,
nema više pitanja. So Alessandro and Rade, thank you very much for the presentation, and we see each other soon. Thank you.
Have a nice time.
Have a good time. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.